Welcome back to the Caregivers Coaching Corner and the third video in this series on staying close in caregiving, emotionally close. I'm dementia coach Diane, and I'm caring for my husband Ben, who's living at home with Lewy body dementia. So I know all too well how important it is, if possible, to maintain an emotional connection with the person that you're caring for. So in the first video, I talked in general about this need for connection. I mean, let's face it, caregiving is hard enough in terms of the mental and physical drain on us without having an emotional connection. And then in the second video, I went a little deeper into how to maintain that connection when it's your spouse that you're caring for. In this video, though, I want to take a look at the dynamics when it's a parent, because it's definitely different from my experience than caring for a spouse. Some things are the same, but there are definitely some things that can be triggered because I know for myself, like I promised to take care of Ben for better or worse, but I didn't promise that with my mom. So I did take care of her with the help of my siblings, but I was the primary caregiver just because of circumstances. I was available. But I had to leave my home and stay with her for 4 and 5 days in a row. And it was interesting because my mom and I knew she loved me for sure, but she was not a very touchy-feely person. And so I had not had a lot of physical contact with her growing up. And then, I mean, when I was caring for her and it got to the point where I had to do all kinds of things for her physically in a very intimate way at times, she put up a lot of resistance, and that was a challenge. And I imagine a number of you can relate because all of a sudden, we're in this role reversal. Things that your parent used to do for you, now you're doing for them. And when they're putting up resistance, it makes the job that much harder. And I had more moments than I care to admit that I just wanted to scream at her and go, Mom, I'm trying to help you stay clean. I'm trying to help you, like get something to eat, drink some water. I mean, the simplest activities of daily living can become a battleground. And I did experience a whole range of emotions, and some of it was, of course, grieving the loss of the parent that I had. I mean, she was mostly dying because she was, towards the end of her life. But I was also grieving in some ways the relationship maybe I had never really had with her. So it took some real intention and effort on my part because I didn't want to have any regrets. I didn't know how long she was going to live, but she was 89. As I said, we had decided as a family to bring in hospice to give us an extra layer of support. And it was, as I said, a tricky time. But I did find some things that really helped. So I want to offer some of the tips that helped me. And again, I hope that you will add your tips in the comment as well, or at least give a thumbs up if some of what I've shared is helpful in what you're going through right now. So once again, let's just remember that all of our feelings are perfectly normal. And it's, I would say, on average, having conflicted feelings is pretty normal. I mean, let's face it, when you're parenting a parent, this reversal in our roles can trigger some really deep sadness, confusion, even resentment. And what if your relationship was always difficult? I mean, that can make things even harder. I mean, not every caregiver grew up feeling safe or loved or nurtured. And if your parent, was really critical or distant or like emotionally unavailable or neglectful or abusive, I mean, oh my gosh, caregiving can really trigger old wounds. So please, if you're going through something like this, I urge you to, first of all, have some compassion for yourself and consider getting some support, perhaps from a therapist, honestly, because it can really bring up some deep stuff. But, that's a topic for another video. At this point, I just want you to know that you're not alone if you're feeling confused, angry, resentful, a whole range of complicated emotions, love, duty, anger, sadness, guilt, exhaustion, all at once. So let's talk first of all about dealing with hurtful behavior, because some parents, especially, if they are living with dementia, illness, a chronic illness, or just frankly aging was the case with my mom, they could lash out verbally, show anger, or seem really cold. I mean, getting old is uncomfortable, let's face it. And if you add something like a chronic illness or something like dementia on top of it, it can make things even more challenging for the person, the parent that we're caring for. And I know that I had to remind myself many times when my mom would lash out or be upset or resistant, that this was not about me. It had really nothing to do with our relationship. It was about her discomfort. And it may be, if your parent does have dementia, they could be feeling really fearful or confused. The neurological changes that they're going through are hard to determine, in terms of what's really going on with them. So please try your very, very best not to take it personally. I mean, that's actually a good rule of thumb for any relationship, but especially when you're in a situation caring for someone that's going through either neurological or physical changes that make it confusing and challenging for them. So one of the things that I had to do oftentimes was set up what I called an emotional boundary and just remind myself that I could take care of my mother without necessarily absorbing her emotions. I mean, wasn't always easy, but I kind of had to say, Diane, she's going through her stuff. You're going through your stuff, stay in your lane. And sometimes just the whole idea of reframing, which I probably had to do more honestly with Ben when he didn't recognize me, but I had to tell myself, that he was struggling to process his fear. He was not rejecting my love or rejecting me. So once again, just do your best to be in the moment with them and try to set aside whatever your past relationship was, but also honor the fact that some things might really get triggered that where you might benefit from actually seeing someone who could help you in a professional sense. Now, I know that sometimes we have to handle what I call double grief and mixed emotions. You can acknowledge both truths, for instance, by saying something like, I can offer care without pretending that the past didn't hurt. I mean, the past isn't here anymore, but those hurts don't always go away. So sometimes, you have to acknowledge that. You can also set emotional boundaries, even while helping someone physically. For instance, I can give care without having to rewrite our history. And in any case, self-compassion is absolutely essential, right? I mean, we are carrying a heavier emotional burden than many people realize. I mean, if people have never been in the primary caregiver role, it's tough. So we need to treat ourselves with the kindness that we deserved growing up, but may not have received. And that continues on in the caregiving role. So I really did need to look for ways to foster emotional closeness with my mom while I was caring for her. And it took a little creativity. Memory lane moments were actually fun for us because we did, thankfully, have a number of memories from the past when we were really young, frankly. I came from a big family, and my mom was very playful. And she always put on great parties for us and really did a lot around holidays. And so it was fun to just share those kinds of memories and acknowledge her for what she did do instead of dwelling on a lot of my hurts or upsets about what she didn't do. And we focused on art. We would sometimes just draw or paint. Neither one of us were very talented in that area, or I should say very skilled, but we did that. And music became actually a really wonderful connection for us. I made up CDs with playlists from artists that I knew she loved, like Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole, all the old standards that she loved. And I would always put them on while I was there. They were always playing in the background. And sometimes she would just want to close her eyes. She was tired. And we would both just sit in silence and listen to the music. And those were some of our best moments together. Also, just physical comfort, something simple like rubbing cream, into someone's feet or their hands. In the case of my mom, her back was so itchy, and so I would gently scratch her back, and the relief that washed over her body, I could see it in her face, and it was such a simple way for me to connect with her and give her some comfort during that time. So I think we need to remember that these small moments of tenderness, patience, and presence can kind of bridge that emotional gap. Once again, I know it can be tempting to want to cut this piece out, especially if you're feeling resentful about your relationship, or perhaps resentful because other people in your family aren't helping. I mean, this is one of the challenges that we can face when we're caring for a parent. I know that I was the primary caregiver for my mom, but I have like 7 other siblings. Now, they weren't all geographically close, but I had a few who were. And I finally had to say, get your butts over here, or I'm going to drop mom off on your doorstep. I mean, I don't know if I would have actually done that, but to tell you the truth, I was really firm about that. I'm like, I cannot carry this all alone, and I won't. It's not fair to mom. It's not fair to me. And I did not let that happen. And thankfully, they did step up to the plate, even though I still did the bulk of it. They did contribute. And if that's something you're facing, don't let your siblings get away with not helping. So, as I said, I think it's really important for us to get the support that we need, if at all possible. If a lot of stuff is coming up as you're caring for a parent, get the support from a therapist or a grief counselor or someone that can just come along beside you to help you process, perhaps, again, grieving not only the parent that you're losing, but the one perhaps you never had. Get your siblings, other family members, to support you. I mean, just it's don't let them get away with not helping. Okay. And try to just again look for those moments, because they'll be there. And I found that they really helped me. They actually energized me when I kind of stopped focusing on all the tasks that I had to do for my mom, some of the things that were hard. I mean, no question, and tiring. And when I took the time to connect with her emotionally and have those moments of just chatting quietly or reading out of her favorite devotional, I mean, it ended up helping both of us. I calmed down a little bit. I would let in the words or whatever it was I was reading for her, and it gave us both that opportunity to just connect without having to, make a lot of drama out of it. So here are some reflection questions for you as you think about the emotional roller coaster that you might be going through as you care for a parent. What are you grieving most? The parent that you had or the one that you longed for? Have compassion for that inner child who's still in there and is maybe, trying to poke through as you're trying to be an adult and do all the right things, but, you've got emotional needs as well. What small kindnesses can you offer yourself while you're caregiving? I used to always make a run to a local convenience store when I was on my way down to see my mom, and I'd get us both, a cup of the cappuccino that we loved, and I would buy myself treats, and I'd bring aromatherapy and make sure I had a good book for, when she fell asleep, and just small little things. But I mean, I, would do my best to find little ways to treat myself. How can I set healthy boundaries to protect my heart, even as I offer care? So think about some of those affirmations or mantras, that can help you remember that you matter, your emotions matter, but that perhaps, you don't have to absorb what's going on with your parent, and you don't have to take things personally. And so lastly, just how can I offer love without requiring a certain kind of response back? It can be hard, I know, to give and give and give and give and give and feel like you're getting nothing in return. So consider, though, that as we give love, it does come back to us. Maybe not in that exact moment, but believe me, I have never regretted giving love, as long as I was giving love to myself at the same time. I am personally not willing to give from the last dregs in my well. I want to give from my overflow. So that does require self-care. That is definitely a topic for another series of videos, so stay tuned. But to complete this series, I want to go on next and take a look at the experience when you're caregiving, perhaps for a sibling, and the roles reverse, and how to handle that sadness, or perhaps when you're caring for a young adult or a child with dementia or some kind of brain injury or illness. So these are all circumstances that are, believe me, I know, challenging, and it brings up every part of what we need to give. And I'm hoping that, as we go through this series together and as we share comments about what's helping us, that we can all recognize that caregiving actually can give us an opportunity to expand and heal from old wounds. It doesn't have to break them wide open and so that we're lying bleeding on the floor. It can actually help us to maybe close the gap on some things that needed healing. So thank you for watching. Give a thumbs up if this is helpful. Please subscribe to the channel if this is the kind of thing that you want to see more of. That lets YouTube and me know that, again, I'm not just talking to my dog here, especially since I don't have one. All right, stay tuned for the next video.